As some of you guys may know, we are getting an update about when I'm recording this, so you guys will have the update by the time this video comes out. And there are a lot of things coming, but one of the main things is ARACHA is actually getting changed, and I want to test how the change affects her, if it makes her better. But of course, what the hell even is her change? Well, specifically in the Awakenings, what we're going to see is the A3 has been changed so that when she inflicts poison, which obviously is pretty important, she additionally inflicts 40% acute poisoning, which increases all poison and toxic surge damage taken by 40%. And I want to see if this really is a really good change. Is Piercer poison comps an actual thing now? And how does it stack up to Nestia? That is what I'm going to be testing today, and hopefully this gives us a good answer. Now, awakening wise, Numera will be A0. Obviously the A3 makes her quite a bit better. The A1 is not bad whatsoever, but either way, I am going to leave her at A0. Born is going to get the A1 for the shield break. It's not necessary, but I figured I would do it anyways, and we're going to leave him like that. And then we're going to go into Abyss, and then I'm going to compare just straight up raw damage numbers afterwards. This is the team that we're going to be using. As you can see, we have the Piercer comp. I have Silas here. I don't expect Silas to be top DPS, but I did kind of want to run him. And I mean, he's a Piercer, right? That's the main reason. And then we also have our Ingrid and Kagiri. There's a couple things I want to know here going into it for Abyss. Number one is, how much damage does the poison comp do with ARACHA? ARACHA inherently is not a great DPS for bosses, and obviously most of what the poison comp is good for is bosses. Nestia, good against bosses. So how much does ARACHA do on her own? And not only that, how much does she boost the other poison trio components? Obviously, aside from Nestia, this is kind of the poison duo, and ARACHA's there too. So, and then the other thing is, I mean, can we even break the second magic shield? Because missing Nestia means we're missing a whole magic DPS, and despite having a high awakened Ingrid, are we going to be able to break it? Do you need the A3 Nestia, I mean not Nestia, Numera to even break it? That's something I want to know too. Now, some concerns I have before I go into the run are a few things. Number one, I already mentioned, Nestia does magic damage, and is a lot of good magic damage. So my question is, losing her even worth it? Now, obviously, the whole point of ARACHA's change is if you manage to have her A3 and you're really struggling to make the poison trio work because you don't have Nestia, you can still get some use out of another hero who literally shares the faction with 2 of the 3 poison trio units. Now, the other thing is, I am kind of concerned at ARACHA's damage. ARACHA does not do single target damage. So obviously we're going to see if all of these things are real concerns and if she's held back, or maybe she's part of the new meta when it comes to these poisoners. So we'll see what happens. And I suppose let's get right into it. Going into the run, we are immediately going to start with the placements. Kagiri's mostly there to break the shield for the physical, just so we don't have to worry. Obviously Wukong works. Something that was really depressing to see is because ARACHA is a ground unit, and a ground unit that cannot survive the meteor, we either have to sack her and make her not on the field, which obviously makes the acute poisoning not work, or we have to sacrifice Wukong or Kagiri. Already that is a ton of potential damage loss, but for this, we're gonna just use Kagiri. As you can see, we placed everyone down, and I guess we will have to see what happens. We're going to click our ARACHA ult. We have her with her exclusive, which when she does 3 ults is going to allow her to perma ult, which is very nice, and she'll continue to do damage. And we're just going to keep this going. As you can see, ult's being triggered a lot. We're triggering Silas around when the shield comes up, trying to make it easier to break while also dealing damage after to the vulnerable phase. And the damage to output is not that bad so far. I mean, all things considered, I've seen worse, and we're going to go into the magic shield, or the magic phase, I should say, in a good spot. Ingrid's going to be overdriving, going to enter overdrive pretty fast, and she will be ready for the magic shield, which is good. So far, damage numbers, I mean, Kagiri is the best DPS. He also is built the best. I tried to build the piercers in a more average-like build, but Kagiri, I'm going to be honest, is straight up in completely insane pieces. Probably the most insane Kagiri build that's ever been put on a Kagiri, I'm going to be honest. But either way, he's going to be doing a lot of damage. It doesn't really matter though at the end of the day because we're comparing everyone else. Now, when it comes to Nestia, keep in mind that she is keeping up with Vorn generally, and I think that Numera should be doing a little bit more. I don't know why Numera is so low. I'm going to be honest. Usually Vorn, usually the Numera, and the Nestia all do a lot more damage than Ingrid. The thing is, Ingrid is the only one awakened, so it is a little skewed. But either way, like, Ingrid is generally below the other poisoners when it comes to SO. So already is not looking too hot, but maybe we clutch up. As you can see, we break that shield, and Silas is going to wail on the boss a little bit. Then we swap, and we're going to click Numera immediately. Now, if I did build Numera with a little bit more either attack speed or rage gen, should be able to triple ult on this phase, but we're just going to save the ult because I want to see, does Numera even successfully help break the shield while under ARACHA? Because ARACHA, once again, does not do magic damage. Despite having an A5 Ingrid, who's going to be helping with the shield with her overdrive, does everyone else help too? Now, something I need to note is Vorn is not giving the shield break to Numera, so they should be able to break this, especially with Awakenings. But either way, we weren't able to break it in this. I think that it is possible to break, but it is not the easiest, to be completely honest, especially because the builds I have are really strong. There's a lot of quad left sides, there's a lot of good gear, and as you can see, ARACHA's damage is really miserable. Silas not doing a lot, but that's kind of expected for a physical like him, and the rest of the damage was not terrible, but nothing too crazy. And now we get to the comparison portion. We're going to be hitting Nightmare 1. Now, I've already hit it with the Poison Trio, and then we're going to hit it with the ARACHA version, and I'm going to be honest, this is a very, very, very hard performance to stack up to. There's just raw damage, you know, going for it. Also, before anyone brings it up on Nestia being A1, this A1 does literally nothing damage-wise. It's just poison immunity and stuns, which don't matter against the guild boss. So, keep that in mind. Either way, the damage numbers look like this, which is monstrous. And I'm going to explain why this is such a big difference than what I think ARACHA is going to be after that run. But what we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys just how I have this test set up, just to verify that it is, in fact, a test that works. And then I'm also going to swap over to about the end of the run, just to kind of update you guys then. So for this, we're going to use this. As you can see, we have our ARACHA right there, and we're just going to hit it. So what I have been doing, and what I did on the previous run as well, is the way this is going to work is Numera, down like this, gets the Diao-Chen buff. Diao-Chen is there because she has 100% uptime, and we don't need to worry. Then we're going to put Vorn back here. We're going to put ARACHA right here. I put Nestia right here, just for reference. And then we can put our Vortex like this. Vortex is just a healer that doesn't really increase damage at all, which is good for these types of tests. And we're just going to keep it going. I'm going to spam the Numera ult, and I'm going to spam the ARACHA ult. ARACHA's ult will slowly become permanent after the third ultimate, and I'm going to come back towards the end, and I'm going to update you guys on how this goes. As we reach towards the end of the run, you can see I'm just ulting as soon as possible. ARACHA, full ulting right here. Something else I did is I actually stopped it at about a minute left on the timer, so keep that in mind as well. Those are currently the damage numbers. You can see that it's not ideal, but I'll explain why that is in a second. This honestly is pretty good though. I was not expecting to be this high. I was really expecting the worst. But this, honestly, is some solid damage. So here we're going to see a minute. We're going to start selling everyone. And then we are going to see what the damage numbers are. So obviously, it's a no-brainer. 44,000 is a lot higher than 32,000 blood. So obviously the damage is going to be less. But how much less? Well, let's see. Right there, damage numbers. You can see a couple things. First of all, ARACHA does substantially less damage than Nestia. This is something that we obviously were going to expect. Obviously. And if we kind of ignore that, how much has everyone else decreased? Well, for this, we have Vorn doing, honestly, not a terrible amount of damage loss. He went from about 128 million down to 110. Numera, oh my goodness, is a big damage loss. 135 million on what's on the screen. She did 175 million before, and then obviously ARACHA doing about 50 mil less, almost half of what Nestia does, which is kind of insane. At A3, by the way, is required to make this work. So, to be honest, it's not that great, but there are some redeeming qualities. First of all, the poison comp does a lot of damage to a lot of things. The fact that you can still do a budget poison comp with no Nestia. Sorry, there's so many names that are like Nerissa, Nestia, Numera. It's hard to keep track. Either way, we have a lot of people who just don't have Nestia, right? So if you need to run your A3 ARACHA, this actually does in fact work. As you can see here, I mean, it functioned fairly well. But it is night and day compared to A3 ARACHA going over to any Awakening Nestia. It is such a big difference. And the reason why it's such a big difference is a couple things. Number one is while poison sensitivity does indeed exist on ARACHA, you want to know what else that Nestia has that ARACHA doesn't? Well, they have, if I can find it, magic resistance reduction. This is almost full uptime. That is a big deal. Now, ARACHA's poisons also are just being put on less frequently. Now, in her ult, ARACHA is almost always putting the poison, acute poisoning debuff out. It's almost always being put out in her ult, which obviously with her exclusive artifact is a pretty big deal. But Nestia puts out more poisons, which allows Numera to do more damage. It allows Nestia to get more value, which is obviously good. And the other thing is the Lord skill is better on Nestia, especially for bossing content. I was using Numera ult almost constantly. She would ult, I would wait maybe 10 seconds, and she would ult again. And continuously do it again, especially on vulnerabilities. I was always able to ult during the vulnerability. With ARACHA, you can't do that because you're missing all of that Esotericis boost, which allows you to ult more often, which is a pretty big damage loss. So overall, what do I think about this? Well, first of all, I think any buff to any character, especially a Lord that no longer is seeing as much use, is always a good thing. And this buff is fairly good. It allows an entirely new team comp to exist. You're able to use Vorn and Numera, even if you don't have Nestia. You're no longer gated by Nestia. You could use ARACHA. Now, what I don't like is that it's gated to the A3. Then again, the A3 is not impossible to get because she's a normal unit. She's not age exclusive, but it is still a very big ask. I mean, I don't have an A3 ARACHA, or maybe I do, but either way, it's pretty new, and I've done a lot of summons, and I just barely have her at that level. I think that's a little bit lame, and I also think that the difference is really big, to the point where if you have any better option, you're never going to use these guys for this sort of application. Obviously, Boreas Codex, they're going to be very good. APOC, they're going to be usable. Overall, I think it's a good change. I think they're actually stronger than I thought they would be, but yet it is still a massive difference. I hope this helped you guys kind of know what the heck is happening, and I hope this helps. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Destined signing out.